Hey guys, welcome back to Words War. My name is Jorge Guerra.
And I'm Sergio Guerra.
And today we're going to be reviewing As Above, So Below.
This is the spoiler-filled review, so if you don't like spoilers, click to the other one. Doesn't have anything to spoil. Such a bad movie. That's a spoiler. Bad movie.
Okay. So As Above, So Below. So it's a story pretty much about a excavation team or a group of explorers led by the daughter of this scientist who was trying to prove that alchemy was real, that there was a philosopher's stone built by Nicholas Flamel, and that it did, give eternal life, and it did change metals into gold, and just pretty much prove that all that was real. Apparently he goes crazy, or they supposedly goes crazy, and and leaves this child to take over the legacy of trying to find it, and that's, you start from the get-go with that being told to you. So she picks up a group of friends pretty much that will help her on the journey, and it goes from there. What did you think?
So the movie is this girl trying to find the stone or whatever. She goes and grabs an old friend of hers, kind of like an old flame or whatever, to help her. And apparently what's taken other people their whole lifetimes, and even her father most of his lifetime, she figured out on a weekend in college. And so now she's got all the answers. She's going to go find the stone, but she needs to get there. It's behind in the catacombs in France, in the secret chamber or whatever. So it's all very Harry Potterish.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't really work out as a good horror movie, I think. It's really hard to really describe it, because you kind of want to like the characters. There's enough character development with the main girl, and the little team that eventually gets together, where you kind of like the characters. You want them to succeed. You don't want bad things to happen to them. So that's there. And there's this sort of mystery element of will they find the stone, and this kind of national treasure-ish type vibe to it. But it lasts way too long, because especially if it's supposed to be a horror movie, you're talking about not really getting to any scary parts at all, or anything that alludes to this being a horror movie until the last third of the film, practically. They go, unless you count the skulls and stuff, that they get to at the catacombs. But anyways, so I think the story was haphazard. It was all over the place. You don't know what's going on most of the time. There's a lot of unanswered questions that they're not really unanswered. I don't think they're unanswered on purpose to create mystery. They're unanswered as in they forgot to go over this.
Yeah, just starting from the beginning of the story. Like you said, she pretty much figured this out on the weekend. There's a huge find that she has with no team, no nothing, and just apparently she happened to find it, and it's not for something that's supposedly such a big deal, doesn't even seem like it, at all, and since then they start trying to set up the scary thing, and I think throughout this whole arc, none of it makes sense as to why most of that scary stuff is there, to tell you the truth. But just from the get-go, the story, like I said, she makes this find, which is supposed to show you she's an adventuring type of person, you know what I mean? And like Sergio said, you want to like the characters because you do get a sense of them, you know what I mean? But their stories are so over the place, it's just not congruent. It's just, the story does not flow at all. It, as shaky as the camera was, that's how the story felt, pretty much, you know what I mean? But just the story alone, we could talk about that first.
Right.
So story alone.
So check this out. So the whole first half of, at least, is pretty much after, George told you, she found this secret, right, in
Cowhead.
In a cave in Iran that sent her to this tombstone where she's going to find. That's the whole national treasure thing. The whole first part of the movie is that, and her kind of getting her team together. Through very bad dialogue all the way through, and then some weird kind of things just happening to the cameraman, he keeps seeing this one girl. Anyways, they get down to the catacombs, still not really anything particular scary, but more weird things happen. The girl that the cameraman kept seeing in there is down there in the deepest parts of this, these catacombs, with a bunch of other people
that are
just
singing,
chanting, and all that stuff. They don't ever explain it. They don't really delve into it, except one character goes, "Oh, there's a lot of weird people down here."
Yeah.
And the thing is, like right about that point, they find this one area that they're not supposed to go down there, because everyone that goes down there never comes back or whatever. All this stuff happens or whatever, and that's when more of this weird stuff happens. My point, I'll let you maybe explain this part or whatever, but my point is that throughout these next couple of rooms in the catacombs, or that they're searching through, they're still officially, as far as the story goes, like within our realm, right?
Yeah.
When they finally, through their search, find this philosopher's stone that they've been searching for, and they get kind of caved in and have to find another way out, the way out ends up being like the entry way to the gates of hell. So there's no reason for any of these weird things that started happening to be happening outside of that, I think, but they still did. I mean, do you want to talk about a couple of them?
Okay, so pretty much the journey is her looking for this philosopher's stone, right? So
don't start from the beginning.
No,
start from right there.
So just in case you don't know much about alchemy, so alchemy is a study of like it was like one of the first sciences. It started back in Egypt.
Hold on. Did I just tell you don't start from the beginning and you went further back in history?
That's the beginning of this movie.
Alchemy is just
it's a science, pseudoscience. So anyways,
right, trying to turn metals into gold. That's it.
So
Nobody needs to know that.
So that's what their whole journey is. They find it in this room, and then, like Sergio said, in the catacombs themselves, there's already been some weird stuff happening, right? And so, like you said, there's no reason for it. They haven't been through hell or anything at all. And throughout this whole thing, this whole little journey they're going on, you finally get to the culmination or the top of it, the story arc, when they find the treasure, and then she figures out that the treasure is a trap, and they get stuck. Like somebody dies, and then they have the philosopher's stone, and pretty much what happens is they get stuck because once everything collapses, they're stuck somewhere. They find out the stone works because this girl scratches her arm. They put a little bit of the stone on her, and it heals it like all miraculously, right? And so they figure out that they have to keep going deeper to get out now, right? So one of their friends just died in the catacomb. So they read the inscription on top of this one little hole that they end up finding, which is the as above, so below. They find a door that's on the floor, and they go through there, and then they turn into this. They go into another room, which is the exact replica of the room they were just in, but backwards. Dun dun dun. Everything's backwards, right? So that's where they're in this new world now. And you see a little bit more decay, and they just told you that they were going in. They read the inscription of the gates of hell or whatever in mythology. It says, what is it?
Abandon hope, all ye who enter here.
Exactly. So that's on top of there, and they make it a big deal about how they're going into hell, right? And they're in there, and there's not really much of a change. And I think, especially like in this kind of movie, when you do a horror movie, like you should see definitely a change of at least the feeling, you know what I mean? And I think from then on is where it starts getting kind of trippy, because not trippy in a good way, trippy in like really kind of way. But their friend that just died is there in the room, and it's just all the scary stuff that you were promised just starts to like not be good. Like she gets attacked, which pretty much the last 15 minutes of this movie is pretty much what you saw in the trailer. Like literally all the cool little deaths and all that stuff. Like that's the last 15 minutes of the movie that came out in the trailer. I mean, and as far as it's really hard to try to kind of make sense of this story to you, just because that's how everywhere this story was. Like it's pretty much like nothing, no reason for scary stuff in the beginning. Let's just put some stuff there. Now that we're supposed to be in hell, let's just space out the scary stuff because we need to keep this going for another 20 minutes, And the deaths weren't all that great. There was like one time where like the person next to us jumped up and yelled that it was scary. But pretty much they start getting picked off one by one, and you start seeing that it's because of things in their past. Like this dude gets pulled off from a flaming car because apparently we don't know why. Apparently he was in a car accident, somebody burned it, and he had burn marks before it. So you're supposed to assume that somehow it was his fault just from one line of him going like, "It wasn't my fault," and that was it. You know what I mean? Like so all these impacts that you're supposed to have from these people dying just never happens. Like because of the fact that even though you kind of like the people, like you're like, oh, that sucks that they died, but you have no reason as to why. Like it really doesn't make sense. Later on in the story, that you find out this one guy is like kind of like refusing to see a child that he knows he has, but that ghost ended up killing somebody else for no reason whatsoever. So it's just this story is everywhere, and if you want to be scared, this movie's just not going to do it. Like I just I mean, I think so. What do you think?
It's very, very cheap scares overall. A lot of the problem with it, I think, is that maybe they weren't aware of how some of the things would look because there's that scene where the guy gets sucked into the flaming car. Okay, it was a very Beetlejuice-ish scene. Like he ends up not getting sucked. Like the whole car itself disappears down into the earth. But the guy's bare feet are just sticking straight up, like perfectly. Like, it looks like a cartoon character, just got sucked into like an anthill, or whatever.
Like grab a Lego and put it in a little hole and cover it with dirt, and that's what it looked like. Like a little
No, it didn't. That makes...
bonito. Like
I know what you're going at, but no.
I thought it did.
Anyways, but the thing is, that it's very non-realistic, and I think they're meaning for it to be like, oh shit, like what the hell's going on? They're trying to make everything look weird and seem weird because it's supposed to be hell, but it looks hokey. There's these like weird gargoyle-ish faces coming out of the wall that come alive, even when they do, you kind of know it's coming, so nobody got scared when
because
one of them finally did. Right, exactly. So even when they do it, it's not very scary. But if you're trying to keep yourself in the story and think, okay, maybe if this was happening for real, I mean, what would they really do? It gets to the point where like the girl has to go back because their philosopher's stone now in hell doesn't work. They've got to go back and put it where they got it from, so they can get the real philosopher's stone that works down here, I guess. So she literally, after this gargoyle bites one of their friends, has to run back, and because of the shaky cam and the way that they shot it, it looked very Benny Hill-ish, like you got her just running right back, and these little monsters come up, and she's like, bah! I attack you and I hit you, and like she didn't care that there's these monsters that just practically killed her friend. She just goes right through them. It seems like if you're running through a video game, like
it looked like 007 GoldenEye. It was like cut chop. Right, chop. Like literally,
like the parts of a game you've already gone through, and you kind of like, these guys don't matter, like that's what it seemed like. And then she eventually gets to the point where they grab the stone, she puts it back, and then she sees the real stone is her, and so she goes back, kisses the guy, he comes back to life. Anyways, it really goes like all over the place. This movie, I don't think it's a very good horror movie at all. The story makes very little sense overall. I think it would be very hard for me to think of anybody that would enjoy it completely. It's like George says, it gets trippy at points and kind of weird and scary, scary-esque, but it never really materializes into anything, and it just ends in the weirdest, stupidest way. There's no closure. They just
big
climb
spoiler.
up. Big spoiler.
Ending. They climb up, which is they climb down. I'm sorry, they keep going down.
Right.
And they have to push this manhole cover, or they have to push this thing down, more down, or whatever. And what it ends up being is that they're pushing a manhole cover,
which you kind of already know when they're already doing it, But so they go down the manhole, which is actually the upside down world, and they come back up into this world. And then there's like a 2-minute shot of them just kind of standing out there, looking at each other, and then one of the guys goes away.
The other survivor kind of just like. And just walks away. No dialogue, no nothing. And then a hug, awkward hug too, because she was like, I don't know, but it was super awkward hug. And then that's it. Like no closure, no ending, no what happened, no she's a philosopher's stone now, so can she do magic now? You know, like, so it was just, it went nowhere. Like, this went absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, so
people died for no reason.
That's not even, that doesn't matter. I've seen movies where people die for no reason.
And I
that
understand
are awesome.
I understand that.
This
but
just
this
wasn't.
story went nowhere. That's what I'm saying.
Right. So
Yeah.
there's no, there's just very little that I could say to try and get somebody to go watch this movie, knowing what I know, right? So I was giving it a 4 as far as the rating. George said you give it.
I give it a 5, just because
He likes being tortured.
Yeah, no. I mean, it was bad, but I could say I've seen worse. So, yeah. So I would give it a 5, just because I kind of did like a little bit of the acting. I didn't like the main guy's acting at all whatsoever. I keep going back to that, but yeah, I didn't like his acting at all. I thought the girl did well, and I thought the story that they were, like, the actual story, like the whole idea between looking for the Philosopher's Stone and having to do the catacombs and like all those little things trickled together. Like, if it would have been shot like in an actual movie way, and people would have taken the time to actually write good dialogue and actually piece together a story, like, the idea of it sounds cool. Like, I kind of dug that, but it just did not deliver in any way at all. So yeah, 5. That's where I'm going. But I mean, if you go see this, I'm sorry. But if you go see this, let us know what you thought. I mean, did you think it was scary? Are we completely off our rockers for thinking
did
this
we
was
miss
horrible?
something?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't think we did. I'm pretty sure that most of the other people that were leaving the theater felt the same way, because everyone was just kind of like, it's over? Like, that's it? Like, we've been waiting for something to happen, and I think that was the end of the movie.
Yeah.
So everybody was just like, all right, and they're just kind of walking away. So who knows? Maybe we missed it.
Yeah, but let us know down in the comments below. As always, like, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Again, my name is Jorge Guerra.
And I'm Sergio Guerra.
And you'll have a good one. Bye.